Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Facebook live chat. And we are just going to wait a few more minutes for people to join. So stay tuned and we will be back. Okay, hello, everybody. We are here live from the Ottawa office on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe, Algonquin peoples. And we'd like to thank you, everybody, for participating in our Facebook organic chat today. My name is Tia Loftsgard, and I'm going to be moderating this session on behalf of the Canada Organic Trade Association. And of course, this is part of our 13th annual Organic Week activities that we have been running all week long and will continue through until this Sunday. And very excited to see that we've got our friends joining from all across the country, participating in this dialogue. And just want to give a shout out to our sponsors for this year's Organic Week, which is Seeds of Change, Savour, Lancet, Fromagerie, and Yorkshire Valley Farms is our top level sponsors, and many others that are coming in at a national supporter level. And so it's really exciting for me to hand the microphone over to okay. So we'll just get started, I think, with a little bit. We're going to just describe what is the purpose of the organic chat. And what we're here to do is to dialogue with consumers and industry to deepen our understanding of organic with some expert opinions by Paddy Doherty, who is going to be with us live in 1 minute. And of course, to hear from a variety of stakeholders on a series of 10 different questions. So we've been providing the questions. They will come up on the screen. We encourage everybody to participate as we are going through and getting Paddy's expert opinion, but we want your opinion too. So there's a comment section, and you can just type your answers and your perspectives to the questions posed right in there. We do have them in both official languages that we provided. So if you'd prefer to respond in French, we will do our best to communicate that, but unfortunately I'm not bilingual, so we'll see how she goes. And now what I'd like to do is pass it over and have a word from our sponsor, Seeds of Change, Marissa Law.
Thanks, Tia. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this year's Organic Chat, part of the Organic Week 2021. And as Tia mentioned, my name is Marissa Law. I am the Associate Marketing Director for Seeds of Change North America, and so excited for Seeds of Change to be the National Champion Plus sponsor for this year's Organic Week. So just a little bit about Seeds of Change. Seeds of Change makes it easy for people to add just one more plant to their diet every day. Our ready-to-heat organic rice and grains is shelf-stable and can be prepared in just under 2 minutes in the microwave. Swapping in Seeds of Change as a delicious side or a wholesome ingredient in recipes is a really easy way to incorporate more organic food into your everyday life. Finally, we're really proud at Seeds of Change to donate 1% of all profits to educating and financially backing farmers who have chosen to pursue organic certification. Super excited to be here with all of you today, and thanks so much for having us. I'll pass it back to Tia.
Great. Thanks so much, Marissa, for those inspiring words. And definitely I want to do a shout out for Seeds of Change inaugural donations towards the Organic Transition Fund that COTA has been running for the last 2 years now, and assisting so many farmers across the country with their organic certification costs. So shout out to Seeds of Change. And now we are ready to welcome our expert. And here he is, Paddy Doherty. Paddy Doherty, you're coming to us live from where?
Enderby, British Columbia.
Great.
Where we have a 40-acre farm here. We grow carrots, beets, and cauliflower. And cauliflower is exploding. It's what my wife calls a cauliflower tsunami at present.
Excellent. Well, I'm coming to your house for some cauliflower soup soon. And Patty, I think it's more interesting for you to just give us like a quick bio of why I consider you an organic expert. What's your experience working in the organic sector?
I have about 30 years experience in the organic sector. I started, yeah, you want a bit of a bio, like, my history sort of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what makes you an expert?
Oh, okay. So I started in certification when it was just beginning, regional certification bodies, and I just started being a secretary for a small certification body in the Caribou, all volunteer run, and I was a volunteer position, and continued with that kind of work. I liked it. I liked the challenge. I like promoting organic. I like dealing with governments, even though it could be frustrating at times. I enjoyed I just enjoyed the milieu, I think, of it. So continued on that, and I had many different positions. I was on a chair of a committee for Organics International IFOAM, and I had a position to develop the Canadian organic regulation. That took about 6 years. So, along the way, over those years, I became an organic expert. And so I'm not shy to call myself an organic expert.
It's well deserved. I mean, the last position that that I remember you holding was when we had our organic value chain roundtable, and you were the co-chair with the government. So,
That's right.
it's a well-deserved title, and we're excited to get your perspectives and welcome our participants' perspectives today. So, I think we'll go on to the very first question. So, Patty, how do you think growing or purchasing organic enhances your life?
So yeah, as probably similar to you, Tia. I've been an environmentalist as long as I've kind of thought about that kind of thing, and as a young person, very idealistic. I was looking for a way uh, to a career. I didn't think of it as a career, but a career choice that would allow me to um, uh, produce for myself and live my values. And so organic farming became the right path for me that way. And I kind of dug the lifestyle as well, and wasn't very good at following direction from somebody else. So being a farmer, you get to make your own decisions, unless you have a partner, which I do.
That's awesome. And so you've been growing and you've been involved in it. And what would you say sort of is the benefit from your perspective on the environmental side?
Oh yeah, it's always been a obvious thing to me that promoting organic farming was a very positive environmental activity. It made me, I felt, was an environmental activist. I wasn't doing other things that other environmental activists were doing, but I felt I was uh, doing just as much or more in terms of encouraging organic farming and increasing organic acreage was an environmental activist thing to do.
Have you had experience personally in regards to the claim of organic contributing towards biodiversity?
Yeah, that's more my wife's because she's a scientist. It's her field, but definitely just your common sense would tell you if you're not spraying poisons that kill wildlife, then you're going to have more diversity in your farm.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think about that. If the animals don't want to eat it, then why do humans want to eat it, right? Stay away from that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I also think about just the human aspect of not touching pesticides and applying them and having to wear gear to put this stuff on what you're growing. So like how do you deal with weeds when they come up instead of just spraying them with pesticides?
Oh yeah, it's been a struggle, and it always is. It's tough, but it's not only us. Like non-organic farmers have to deal with weeds too. Herbicides aren't the end all, and we've learned a lot about manual cultivation and and stale seed beds. I could go on and on about how we grow carrots, and we've learned to grow carrots without an enormous amount of weeding. And uh, in fact, I did a seminar on it a couple of years ago. But can I give you a little anecdote? Are you
Yes.
okay? It was many years ago. I met a commercial potato farmer. He grew up on his farm in the Pemberton Valley area. Beautiful place to grow potatoes. And he had a young family. And his neighbor was an organic zealot like me, and convinced him to do an acre of potatoes organically. And this is, say, out of 70 acres of potatoes, he did one, something like that. And then I talked to him the next year, and he said, it was really kind of a neat experience. He said, I found that I didn't have to worry about the kids playing in the puddles in the field, and my wife really appreciated it because she was training to be something about nutrition, or something like that, and it hadn't occurred to me that it was a danger for children to play in the puddles in a farmer's field, because I never dealt with herbicides or pesticides, and anyway, eventually he converted the whole farm to organic, and he sells organic seed potatoes, and he's a very important part of the BC organic sector now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a really encouraging.
I've heard a few people say that to me, that the guy was the farmer, he had the expertise, then he got married, and then his wife said, no, you're going organic, you don't have any children. so he's not alone in thinking about that, right? So
yeah, that's right.
So, and it is interesting to think of the family farm and how it is important to run it holistically, not just for the benefit of the consumers, but really for those that are growing it. They want to be producing it safely for themselves and not ingesting that kind of stuff. So yeah, cool anecdote. How about our next question, which is, from your perspective, what is the connection between climate change and organic? There's so much buzz around climate change right now, and everybody is talking about agriculture and the term regenerative and all sorts of things. And then the whole debate of organic's always been regenerative. So what do you really feel organic contributes towards climate change, either mitigation or the whole topic?
What organic methods in general contribute towards mitigating climate change, but organic farmers are a very small part of the overall picture, right? Mm-hmm. So the amount of carbon we sequester, the amount of petrocarbons that we don't use, to be honest, it doesn't amount to an enormous amount. I think our biggest influence, the organic movement, is it encouraging other farmers to move towards organic methods. So the more organic methods a conventional farmer or non-organic farmer picks up, the more that contributes to mitigating climate change. And that's what organic has always been. It's always been the leader, and we push and we we do things the hard way, and then people see that there is an organic choice in the supermarket, and they make that choice, and that pushes the rest of the channel, the supply chain, to move in our direction. So we may not have a large volume of certified organic farmers or acreage, but we've had a huge influence. This is something that's very difficult to measure, but a huge influence on agriculture in general to move towards organic methods. And that in itself has really helped with mitigating climate change.
That's interesting. So when you're talking about mitigating climate change, you're really talking about how to fight the effects of wild weather and, droughts and floods, etc. That's what you mean by mitigating, just to break it down?
I mean, basically putting less carbon into the atmosphere. So adapting is a whole other part of it. That means dealing with the way the climate is changing. And I'm in British Columbia, and I'm right in the middle of a drought in the North Okanagan, and we've had wildfires very, very close. So we've had to deal with it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And so what are some of the organic production methods that you would encourage non-organic farmers to adopt as that, best management practices that you suggested?
One of the biggest ones is the reduction of the use of fertilizer. Fertilizers are known to be a big climate change. They support climate change. I'm using the right word. And so the methods that organic farmers use is certified organic farmers don't use any commercial fertilizers, but there's a lot of non-organic farmers can move towards organic by reduction of and more specialized use of fertilizer. Like by measuring their soil health and such as in order to reduce the fertilizer they use. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I mean, I hear a lot about cover cropping and crop rotation. Those are the two big things that I hear are organic methods that some non-organic certified producers are adopting and saying, I like that. Like that actually has proven to be very successful. Is that your experience as well?
Oh yeah, cover crops are great at reducing your weed burden, and they give the soil a break, and there's a lot of reasons why it's a good thing to do. And then non-organic farmers they're very innovative. Farmers are innovative generally, and they're finding new ways to do this in a more with less tillage, because tillage is tough on the soil, and it's tough and it contributes to climate change as well by releasing carbon. So there's no-till methods for doing this kind of cover cropping without using the same amount of herbicides and tillage. Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, let's move on to the next question. And I'll encourage our participants to put in your own perspectives. Paddy and I are having a good time here, but we're welcoming your comments as well. So does choosing organic mean that you are an ethical consumer?
Well, you can pat yourself on your back, you mean, because you chose organic? Well, it's one thing you can do for sure. I mean, we have to eat, and everybody buys food, so you have that opportunity to make that choice. And ethical can be in a number of fronts, like economic and environmental and animal welfare, social welfare, and or organic organic certification covers off most of those ethical issues, especially the both the environmental and the animal welfare. I think consumers aren't aware how strong our standards are for animal welfare. That I'm always impressed with the people that grow livestock on a commercial scale. It's not easy, and they really care about how they're doing it, and the following the organic standards. They're usually very proud of it, and they'll welcome people to see how they keep their chickens or how they keep their cattle, and generally that's not common in livestock operations, on a commercial scale.
Yeah. I was just on Facebook the other day, and there was an organic dairy company, and it was basically being told the story by the cow, saying like, "I've got all this grazing space, like a bed,"
Yeah.
And it was just like really awesome to see that there's like an actual consideration and a humanization of the animals that, of course, we turn around and eat, but like to give some thought to their welfare throughout their lives is interesting. I do like this question because of the IFOAM, and IFOAM stands for the International Federated of Organic Agricultural Movement, for anybody who's joining us that doesn't know what IFOAM is, but that's essentially like the international body for organic. And the IFOAM principles do specify ecology, health, care, and fairness. So when I think about this question of being an ethical consumer, it's like, yeah, I'm choosing that I want to vote for ecology, healthcare, and fairness, right? In buying organic products. And you're right, the standards, they are so comprehensive that sometimes it's hard to do the organic messaging because it's holistic. It's very broad and wide.
Yeah.
It's not just no genetic engineering, no pesticides. It's not just what it's not, it's what it is. And I think the new organic standards that just got published in December tie into that, I think, a little bit further, and trying to kind of spell out our concern around fairness, and more animal welfare standards have been ramped up in there, as well as the specific mention of biodiversity. So it's exciting to see. We're moving further, always evolving. Awesome. So let's move on to the next question, which is, why do you think people do not choose organic, and what can be done to change this?
Oh, yeah. Well, I must admit, sometimes I don't choose organic because the price is way out of whack. Sometimes, it's really expensive, and so I think that the main reason is probably the price. I think I've never spoken to anybody who thinks there's anything wrong with organic products. A consumer, right? They reach for it based on price. In fact, we've had carrots in the grocery store. Well, for many years, we supply local grocery stores with our carrots, and we got our own brand, and people know they're local, and of course they're very, very popular. But I had a friend who was watching a consumer looking at the carrots. So one of the stores, they had ours carrots, and then they had California carrots, and then they had non-organic carrots, right? So they gave consumers a huge choice. And he was watching one consumer. She was hovering over the organic carrots, and actually ended up reaching for the California carrots because they were probably $1 cheaper than ours.
Wow.
And when she had the choice of buying local carrots that are, or certified organic, and probably much fresher, but I think the price point we've always found is the, and then there's I think, well, COTA, you probably have this data that would tell you where, where consumers will reach for organics and where they won't, right? At what point in the price? And there's a certain segment that doesn't mind paying a high premium, and then there's your other, segments. But the and how do you change that? The price? Well, we have to be a little more commercial about it. Probably the supply chains are very, very expensive, especially in organic meat. It's still a really tough way to go with a way to make a living is to produce organic meat. Except in certain supply managed commodities, it's better, but it costs money to slaughter an organic animal, whereas conventionally there's money to be made in the what do you call it? The parts of the animal that aren't used, So just from the very beginning of the supply chain on the organic livestock, it's very, very competitive and tough to get organic meat on the supermarket at a reasonable, like competitive price, right?
Do you have any suggestions of what can be done to change this conundrum? I mean, it seems crazy that a California carrot is cheaper than yours locally grown, right? What's going on there?
Well, in some cases, there's very little we can do about it. It's the competition. So in BC, we're price takers on the price that comes in from California. So we're having to set our prices based on what we think we can push consumers via the against the California price, right? And sometimes we lose. Most of the time we win, but we found that that if we push it too hard, of course, we're not going to make the sales. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question. What role does soil play in organic agriculture, and why is everyone talking about regenerative?
Yeah, I don't really get the regenerative. Sorry. I think it's kind of a buzzword maybe, but it's all about the soil. I can go back to that. The organic farming is about feeding the soil, not the plant. It's what we've been saying for 40 years or more. So looking after the soil, the activity in the soil, the biological activity in the soil. So when you use, to start with, chemical fertilizers, you're hurting the biological activity in the soil and actually the chemical composition of the soil. So the soil doesn't act properly anymore. It tends to form hardpan easier, and it creates like baking soda in the soil, and then you have to add more, and then you have less soil life, and we're just learning more and more about the soil. Like it's just teeming with life, not just earthworms. They're the biggest thing. It's a whole pile of other stuff in the soil. So the more you nurture that, you find that the better your soil behaves. It's more easier to work with. It responds better, and you get in you have better production. And then, like I said about regenerative, I think it's a way to get organic light, perhaps. So there's aspects of there's a lot of really well-meaning non-organic farmers who want to improve their sustainability, right? The part of the organic ethos that they can't manage is not using chemical fertilizer.
Hmm.
And that is usually sort of the cutoff kind of thing, you know. Like, so there's a lot of programs, like Rainforest Alliance has a really big program on sustainable farming, right? It's very highly subscribed over the world. And one of the reasons they are able to do the uptake is because they don't have that prohibition on organic fertilizer.
Mhm.
And that is often the tough one, you know.
Mhm.
And so the term regenerative doesn't preclude that. You know, it's a bit vague, so it doesn't really have the standards that organic farming has, but it encompasses. I think if I can monologue a little more, it goes back to what I was saying before about the influence of organic. So the fact that you have organic carrots on the supermarket shelf shows the consumer that they have a choice, that you can grow organic carrots. And that pushes the bar for your non-organic carrot farmers to think about, oh, how can I get on this action a bit? You know, how can I be more sustainable? Either, well, both, like be more sustainable, do the right thing, but also get the benefit of that, right? And so the term regenerative, I think, is a way for them to grab onto that.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I remember when I was with a company and we were growing hot chocolate. We were manufacturing hot chocolate, and we were doing a demo, and people would walk up and they'd say, "How is it possible to have organic hot chocolate?" And then I said, "You should be asking why it's possible to not have organic hot chocolate. What's in your regular hot chocolate?" You know, and it's really people have become so used to like including chemicals and preservatives and dyes and all these things in our food that now when we have to label it that it's not having these things, it's like, what? It takes the consumer a little bit of time to understand that there are options, and those options were, you know, there in our parents' generation, and everything wasn't made with GMOs and, you know, synthetic fertilizers, pesticides. So, you know, this is an interesting generational shift that's happened in the last, you know, 60, 70 years. And I think us, you know, going through this process of certifying, making the claim, proving that these options do exist is a wonderful thing. And like you said, move the needle, continue to move the needle forward and prove that it's possible and profitable. So let's go on to the next question, which is, when you get to be a dreamer, what is your hopes and dreams for the future of organic? And I say that to you because you're a pioneer, right? Like, yeah. I'm the next generation. I want to hear, what is your dreams and hopes that we should be trying to carry on?
In my older years, now that I'm a senior, I'm less anxious about it. I'm very proud of what we have achieved. I used to really, I would answer this question by saying more acreage, right? Because I felt more acreage under organic methods is more farmland that is not being treated with toxic substances and having a deleterious effect on the environment and biodiversity, etc. Now, I still feel that, but I'm much more minded towards that organic should continue to be the leader and should continue to push the boundaries and should continue to influence agriculture and be that organization or that movement that moves the bar and that encourages more or agriculture in general to have a bigger effect. And there's other organizations that we don't acknowledge enough that are doing similar work, but just in a different area. Like WWF has a really big program with large acreage, and their model is like landscape level change, um, on small changes in your production. Not moving to all the organic standards, but reducing certain pesticides and improving some cover cropping and etc. Things like that. And organic farming still continues to influence that movement. And that's what I think is the organic movement's role, and that's where I think we will continue to have success.
That's awesome. I just came out of the iFoam World Congress last week, and I tell you, every year it's just, well, every 3 years it happens. It's so inspiring to see the global movement. People from every country, from every walk of life, all come together with this common vision for the future and how we're going to keep improving. And the exciting part that came out of the last General Assembly, which just happened on Monday, Tuesday, was that they voted to look at the iFoam standards and incorporate the social standards of fairness in. And we've been talking about that a lot here in Canada. And of course, it is a challenge because there's labor laws that are different all over the world. But like, what is that common denominator of fairness for human labor? I think that's going to be really exciting to see that. So that's my hopes and dreams for the future of organic, is to see that fairness will apply not just to the animal treatment, but to the humane treatment and fair labor practices as well.
Yeah, and we should be a leader in that area. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to our next question. How do you think that we can get more young people involved in organic farming and organic manufacturing businesses?
I don't think we have to do too much. I think that they are very excited about it. That organic farming draws young people, and I mean, anecdotally, I can see that the barriers to farming generally, as a career, are enormous. The costs, right? The capital costs, and they're the same no matter whether you're organic or you're non-organic. So how do we get more involved? Well, I think continue to do what we do, have the values that we have, and show an example. I think there's other partners, friends that are working directly, like the young agrarians and things. They're doing that work. I don't think I never thought of it as my work, although when we had a funding program here in BC, I was able to give them lots of money to get going, and now they're going crazy. Like, they're really doing wonderful work.
Right. Awesome. And I'm noticing that we're just posting in the chat that Yorkshire Valley was able to create quite a nice fund for the Eco Scholars Award with the university, or the Guelph Organic Conference. And so, we just put a few videos that are super inspiring by young people that are, inspired by organic. And I tell you, I watched them, I teared up. I was like, I made all this to watch them. I was just like, this just gives me so much hope that like we're in good hands, right?
That I know. I actually, you reminded me of. There's an anecdote. I think I was a judge for the Eco Scholars Award for Guelph, and I got all these videos coming in that I had to review, and Elena and we sat and watched them, and I was tearing up. It was incredible. They were just so wonderful. Yeah. It was. I was really impressed and moved. Yeah. I felt, maybe I've done something good,
Totally. Well, and another little tidbit that came out of the iFoam meetings is that there was a resolution approved to create a world environmental movement for youth. So I don't know if they're going to do like a global youth council for organic young leaders or what have you, but I'm excited to see what that will look like and how we can help promote that and get more and more young people involved in the global movement. We see a lot of it happening through the worldwide organic workers, like the woofing program, where people get excited about organic and they're volunteering on farms. But like this is just another exciting way for people to come together. So. Okay, let's go on to question number 9. What can the government do to help more businesses and farms be organic?
It depends on which government, but governments at different levels can do lots of different things. Like at a municipal level, they can support their little farmer markets, and some of them, and it's huge disparity in that regard. Actually, there, some municipalities are bent over backwards, and they have lovely, farmers markets, and other ones are not helpful at all for different reasons, and the farmers market languages, and provincially, they can provide expertise, which is usually the government's role. Provide an organic agent, or you don't use that word anymore, but somebody in who can help the organic community in the province and provide, and not only one person, but they could provide expertise in a whole different areas, including manufacturing, for organics. And they would be putting their money where their mouth is, where they're often talking about local and supporting local farmers, and they're also talking about sustainable. So organic fills all those kind of. Federally, we could have a lot more support in terms of our organizational challenges. Our standards, of course, is a big one. Maintaining the organic standards has been a terrific burden on the organic sector, that we need to update these standards every 5 years, and it costs, I don't know what the figure is. Was it around
700,000? Yeah.
So we have to come up with 700,000 some way, and then we somehow got arrested out of government, or get somebody to, and we do a lot of volunteering. For most countries, those organic standards are part of what the government does, and but in Canada, it just doesn't seem to be felt that's they just don't do it. So they could really help that way.
Wow. Yeah, and then I've really been thinking about an organic transition program. Like, what would you think? I mean, we know that the United States has it, and a few other countries, have goals in regards to transitioning land. What else do you think the government could do that would be useful on that front, whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal?
Yeah. Okay. That could be very helpful. There's different mindsets of where the support should be. Like, should you pay a farmer to transition, or should you provide like hand-holding, to get through the process? But I think it doesn't really matter what they choose, but something in that could be very helpful. Yeah, to help people just make that adjustment, because it can be very daunting, and like you said, the farmer's wife might be saying, we should do this, and the guy that has grown up learning another way to farm all his life might might be interested and listening, but having some difficulty managing it with all the stress of just trying to get by, right? So support, whether it is expertise, like the environmental farm plan, where you have somebody come right on your farm and help you go through the process of making your farm more environmentally friendly, or giving you some financial support through those years of transition, or both. I think looking at what seems to work, if there's some data on results from other jurisdictions, would be helpful.
Yeah, well, I can't help but think that there's an election coming up. We're in it, and I keep looking for where's the government of Canada's action strategy plan, and it is a challenge, I think, for the organic sector, because we're within agriculture, but then we're within CFIA, and then we're environmental. So which minister do we fall within? We're also within global trade. We're in the fisheries division. We're in every single aspect, and I feel like organic gets lost within government departments. They just don't know what to do with us.
Yeah, I often felt we could have a lot of influence in health, but we've never been able to sort of, break into there. But the health of the population, right? And what we do, and not only like physical health, but mental health too.
Absolutely. Yep. There's a comment from Marla in the chat that says, if governments are going to support the transition to organic farming, which they should, they also need to invest in market development in Canada and export markets. We need to increase acres, and we need to increase markets. And I look at that in regards to the European Union. They've made their plan in their farm to fork strategy, and they said, by this date, we're going to have 25% of all organic. We want it to be all certified organic in Europe. And then, of course, they leave it to the nation states to figure out how to do that, which, of course, it's good to be ambitious, but where's the ambition coming from in the Canadian government? We need to have a clear strategy in regards to supporting moving towards organic practices, even if it doesn't get certified. And I think that's where, we're all hopeful that we're seeing more and more discussion around climate change in agriculture, and moving towards, adopting some new best management practices like we were discussing. So, but obviously, as soon as you do get your organic certification, you are running into getting an organic premium and getting acknowledged for all the work that you're putting into, which, organic farming is not easy. It is a labor of love, everybody says, and they all know that it's worth it. So,
yeah.
Okay. So we've got one last question, and then I've got one that came early on in the session. So how can more consumers, producers, and businesses deepen their education about organic?
Well, I think organizations like COTA does a terrific job about helping educate consumers about organic, and not by yourself, but with your partners, your supporters, your funders. You do a really good job at the retail level where people are going to see it. If I go into my local natural food store, I can see the materials there, right in front of me, something that I can relate to, yeah. I can see it if it comes across Facebook, but the stuff that comes across Facebook is tailored to me, and they know that I like organic. So, they're preaching to the converted. But the stuff that you can see at the retail level is very, has a lot of influence. I think you do a terrific job that way.
Awesome. And so just to kind of elaborate on that, with producers and businesses, like the provincial associations are doing a lot of outreach work. They're doing a lot of field days. I think that they're doing a pretty interesting job in trying to get farmers to talk to farmers and that kind of mentoring programs. Do you feel like, there's more that can be done? Because how do you, like you said, if there's a farmer that's been farming a certain way forever and 10 generations, then, how is it that all of a sudden they're going to be like, because organic can sometimes be a cultural barrier, right? Like, oh, you're that guy that's got all the weeds, you hear that, right, about organic farmers.
Yeah, the field days are great. I went to one last Sunday that young agrarians put on, It was a wonderful event, and the young agrarians particularly draw from a wider net than, say, the local certification groups or organic farm organizations, where they tend, if there's a field day, it tends to be me and my buddies, and it doesn't draw that wide. But the Young Agrarians was a good mix of just people, and those things they don't cost that much to put on, but they're a lot of work, like you have to, generally they're volunteer. They're very popular, and farmers like to learn from other farmers. So if you want to influence other farmers, you have to get in there with them. When I sat at the British Columbia Agricultural Council, I was there for 3 years on the board. I felt I did have an influence because I was a fellow farmer at that point, and they knew that I wasn't as nutty as they anticipated I would be. I was just a farmer like them.
That's great. Well, you'll have to prove yourself to still be not as nutty as we think you are, Paddy. That's what makes you so fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's been awesome, and I think I've answered all my questions, or you've answered all my questions that I've got. But why don't we see if anybody else has questions for Paddy? And there was one that's come up from Mr. Nemo. Paddy, what was the highlight of your organic career? And we'll encourage more questions while Paddy goes ahead and tells.
Thomas, hi. So, well, this is a no-brainer. That was a COTA party at the Guelph Organic Conference in 2012. That was the highlight of my organic career. No, probably that. I'm being a bit facetious there, but that would be probably the getting the organic regulation through, which was a 6-year project. So it was a long term and had a lot of support, but it wasn't easy. It took persistence on all of our parts, and Tomas was with us the whole way on that one. That completed in 2009, I think. I think that was when that's when we got the regulation. So yeah, that was probably the highlight of my career. I felt pretty proud of myself for being asked to do that and being able to carry it through.
Well, that's awesome. Well, and we all have to thank you. We are now an $8 billion regulated industry because of your work. Yeah. So, I mean, that's amazing to all the amazing organic champions that did all that heavy lifting in the early days. I mean, I think about the BC regulations and the Quebec regulations that preceded the Canada Organic regulations, and how, this is a movement that's kind of evolved over time, and it's going to continue to evolve. And, we're excited about, having the guidance of the older generation leading the younger generation for whatever this next phase of organics going to be in the next 10 years. So I want to thank you, Paddy, for all your hard work and for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us in today's organic chat. And so for everybody that has participated, thank you so much. We are going to be posting this on our YouTube page, and we welcome you to participate in the rest of our Organic Week activities. We'll say goodbye to Paddy, and we'll just put on one last slide, which is going to show you the different events that we've got. We've been doing a whole series of events starting on Monday. The Seeds of Vandana Shiva is a free viewing that we've got available up until this Sunday evening. And certainly we're interested in you checking out the Canada Organic YouTube page for all the sessions we've already had. And we've got 2 more events coming up on Saturday and Sunday, Organics 101 with Kelly Monahan. And we will be doing a chef talk with Chef Brad Long from Cafe Belong on Sunday, which is super inspiring. I've already saw a sneak peek of both of these. So please check them out. And we wish everybody a happy Organic Week. Thanks for attending.